Hello, and welcome. I'm just going to light some Palo Santo as I do when I start these videos. Because I'm here to tell a story based in reality. Not perspective, not a take on, but based in reality. Here we go. And this story is about the soul, but a specific aspect of the expression of the soul that is happening now on our earth, but is deeply, deeply misconceived as to, maybe not misconceived, but conceived from a very limited number of pieces of the puzzle of the whole. And I have told parts of this story, shared parts of this wisdom in groups that are focused on today's subject, which is neurodivergence, autism, and also apraxia. What are they? In the awareness that I hold in this moment, it has been shown that they are signs of evolution. Not special needs, not handicaps, not limitations, like it seems the world would like to see them as, but much the opposite. They are expansive expressions of the soul. But what happens is that the majority of folks are clinging to the perspective that the mind holds of what is normal, or how we should be, or those kinds of things, and is oftentimes very resistant to see the new arriving. But if we are to evolve, we must allow for the new to arrive. So neurodivergence has an incredible spectrum of expressions, just like flowers. If we could number, I'm sure that somewhere it is written a number of known species of flowers, and then there are others that are unknown yet. There are many expressions of neurodivergence. Let's call it expressions of neurodivergence. Some are the expression of autism. Some are Parkinson's. Some are Alzheimer's. Some are dementia. Some are ADHD. The letters and labels go on and on and on. But what the reality is about these is the mind has returned to a wiring that existed before we allowed the egoic self and the mind to take over the form and the journey itself and how we see the journey. And this is a sign of evolution because it is showing that we are returning to allowing the soul to guide the journey, the soul to guide the choosing, the free will practice of our journeys here. And all of this seems so foreign because of the adherence to the mind's perspective instead of seeing it through the eyes of the soul. So to tell the story, we've got to clarify some paradigms of existence. And there's something that I wrote just this morning that I'm going to read to you. A few things that will be a big part of clarifying the wisdom that is here to be shared. And mind you, just like the cards, the seeds of wisdom, these are seeds to be planted because there is a garden of awareness, a field of awareness that needs to be cultivated so that we can come into the awareness of ourselves as souls and return to that expansive, incredibly brilliant existence that we have experienced here. But at this moment, in this now moment, we are experiencing the journey here through a very limited lens that is the mind and the five senses, and taking that as what is. Autism, for example, is a very clear expression of the rewiring of the mind or the brain itself. And in this, there are so many pieces to that puzzle. It's interesting how most of the autism symbols or signs or even license plates that you see on cars are pieces of puzzles. Because the reality is, and this is the first paradigm to speak to, is that all that exists is a synthesis of elements unified to form a whole. A forest is a synthesis of elements, trees and grass and plants and bugs and earth and the sun and the rain and the land and God, so many other innumerous elements. Our bodies are a synthesis of elements to form this form, to create this form that our soul resides in. And I want to read this. It says, when we begin to see all things equally important elements in the synthesis of all that is, this is the doorway to the awareness of our soul self. Right now, most, and when I say most, I mean 99.9% of those who journey in this form are allowing the egoic self to command the ship, if you will. And it is why we have reached such a profound place of chaos in the world. And another paradigm to be aware of is this chaos exists because our earth is ascending. Our earth has completed its agreement to be this home for, oh my gosh, eons of expression. And now the earth itself is transitioning, rising to a higher place, a higher expression of itself, and calling to us to follow and come into the awareness of ourselves as souls, so as to return as an element unified with this earth, with every element of this earth, and then the greater universe to rise. Those who are experiencing neurodivergence who have come here to show the way, show a way, are doing so to leave the mind-based things like communication and function and other things behind and return to that magnificence and that expansiveness of the soul. We see this so many times in those who are experiencing autism. They don't have it. It's not a disease. It's not a problem, but they are experiencing what we're calling autism. There are moments that those who can communicate with them, that brilliance of the soul is shared. I'm going to speak to this because this is a really big one that needs to be clarified. The soul communicates, has always communicated, and still communicates through vibrational expression. Not through language, not through the mind, but vibrational expression. I've got a card in front of me. This card is from the Seeds of Wisdom deck, and it is the soul card. It says, "And the soul takes flight," is its message. This is a vibrational expression of this message. Vibrational expression occurs through our heart space because the mind doesn't have the capability for vibrational expression. There are many who are calling that vibrational exchange telepathy and swearing that it's based in the mind, but it's not. This story is being told in this way because, like I said before, those who are telling that story are telling it through the very few pieces of awareness that they hold that are, again, based in the mind. But when you go beyond the mind and allow vibrational expression to occur, and mind you, it can occur in numerous ways, in voice, in singing, in movement, in art, in script, in mathematics. There is mathematics that can be vibrationally expressed that are beyond the laws of science, beyond the awareness that science holds, because science is, no matter how evolved science is, it's based in the mind's capability to perceive. And when we go beyond these things, we step into the expansive world of the soul. So, as an example, folks who are experiencing autism, some have learned how to regulate, meaning balance things out. The soul has come forward and shown them a way. Or there may be other souls around them. Folks that have this capacity already that they utilize for themselves, that they've discovered within themselves to do. But many who experience autism have many challenges when they go into large crowds of people. Places where there are lots of people, where there's lots of energy, or where there's lots of things going on. The reality of what is occurring is this soul that is here experiencing autism, that is aware of itself as a soul, aware of the harmonious synthesis of all things as a soul, steps into a large group of people or a very active area, and there's all this discord. There's all this mind-based conversation and activity and all things, and the energies that are there are so distorted and so in conflict with the soul self, that when they step into that, it's like I've called it reverb or feedback. If you've ever been to a concert, and if you've gotten there early enough where they're doing the sound check, and somebody maybe is on a microphone somewhere on the stage and they step too close to a speaker and you get this whoa, this really high-pitched, that's exactly what's occurring. This soul that is experiencing in the physical, experiencing autism, with that more aligned and harmonious frequency, steps close to a large group of people where there is all of this discord. No matter how normal others may think that behavior is of conversation and others, to the soul, it's discordant. And that's what occurs to that person. Now, so many, thankfully, have created ways to regulate themselves and created ways to calm that reverb, calm that response, and navigate through situations like that can be chaotic. But it shows us just how discordant the majority, and I'm talking in the spiritual metaphysical communities, in the other community, in all the things, because we refer to ourselves as a community, it's a division and therefore an illusion. That in itself is discordant to reality, because in reality, all things reside in synthesis, unified to form the whole. Anything that divides and separates and disallows for that natural occurrence to take place is discordant to reality. Discordant to the soul and discordant to evolution. Because, like the t-shirt says, together we rise. When we unify ourselves and come together, we have, excuse me, I think a little too much incense. I've got too much incense going on. There are many that say, my gosh, I'm so tired. When is the shift going to happen? When is this going to occur? When is that going to occur? Well, it's already all occurring. It's just awaiting our awareness so that we can become aligned with it. There was a time when we walked this earth, all of us, fully aware of ourselves as souls. And in this, we expressed the magnificence of the soul. We manifested things here because we were unified. Because no single one of us can do it alone. It is the unified frequencies that form the choir, that form the synthesis of the whole, so that that magnificence can be expressed. There's a part of this that I want to touch on, because I've made posts about it, small posts about it, and someone said, well, can you really elaborate on that? And that is about apraxia. There are many ways that apraxia, dyspraxia, I've heard many axias, some that are very clearly explained and some not so much. But what it basically is this cerebral disconnect. It is, for example, motor function, maybe because of what is being called apraxia or dyspraxia, or so many of the different names, the person doesn't have tactile or motor function in their hands. or their speech, or so many different ways, or sometimes even organ function and other things. I want to explain what exactly is occurring. This is one of the more significant signs of evolution, because when the soul is guiding the form, which is the synthesis and the intended dynamic is for the soul to reside in these forms, these infinite forms, and I'll touch on that in a few minutes. These infinite forms, there is no cerebral command, let's say, for motor function. Motor function and the functions of the form are guided by the soul and not by the mind. We many times marvel at nature, animals, and how amazingly powerful they are, how they can move, how they can do things. Well, if you were to look at at these forms that we reside in, I don't call them human because that's just a scientific label, and again, it's a division. In these forms, if they are at their peak of capacities, man, they are powerful. They are physically powerful in ability to move and agility to do. When they are at the peak of their expression, the capability that this form has to realign itself, to heal. You can slice yourself open and it will heal itself. If it's big enough, does it need a few stitches? Yes, or nowadays they have glue or all kinds of things, but it will heal itself. And the form has the capability to heal itself beyond our imaginings when it is guided by the soul and not by the beliefs and truths, the illusions of the mind. Apraxia is an expression in a situation where the mind is no longer sending those signals to move the hands or control the speech or the other ways that shows up. It's because it's time for the soul to return. That form has come through with the intention of having the soul take over, having the soul return to its place as what's guiding the ship, what's conducting the journey. And I know that is challenging to receive, but I will put it this way vibrationally for those who can receive it, and I'll say more. Submor naksirik aranya kurmanianda. Nadak eraskot wara tsuruk nura ningiamna. Nanak ingat arasuturonum ar boksoturiana. Meg asat ura katnu meniangana. Nana eya sat ara ur mutniara nanya. Sadar basit ir urbania nania. Nanam geadia. Nasut urba satar ni mank iranani. Manaik arana. The soul call you home. That's what's happening in Apraxia. The soul is calling to the form to return, to allow it to guide the form itself. There is no synapsis there for motor function, for speech, for others, because it is calling, the soul is calling to return to that place. When we allow that to happen, I'm guided to read this part now. So it says, we are here to evolve, not go around in circles. Vibrational communication is no more involved with the mind than a garbage can is to being a swimming pool or the ocean. The mess of illusion is so great within the mind that a veil has formed to keep us from seeing the light within us. The brilliance within us that gives existence to the form that our soul resides in here. The soul is eternal, and so is the form, intended to last until such place that the soul decides to move forward to the next phase of the eternal journey. We see this every day when someone falls very ill or breaks a bone, is involved in a car crash, or on the rare and miraculous occasion when a person becoming so ill with dis-ease that life itself begins to leave the form. And then from within a transformation occurs, a vibrational shift that takes place, and the form follows that shift and realigns itself vibrationally with the soul, and healing occurs. I have experienced this myself, and I know others who have experienced it themselves, that their healing occurred because the message that the soul was sending was so powerful. And the mind, because the form had reached a place of deterioration that was so extreme, the mind shut down, the soul came forward and displayed or revealed the reality of who we all are and what is. And mind you, what I share with you today, I've made posts about this recently, is not a take on a perspective of, or an idea of, or an interpretation of. It's what I'm sharing with you is reality. I share it from the place of the soul. It's not an interpretation. It is what is. And when apraxia is being experienced, it's because the egoic self is holding on to the idea that the mind should be sending those signals for the function of the body, when the soul is calling to it to return home to that awareness. Return home doesn't mean leave the planet. It means return home to that expansive self within and allow it to guide the form, which is what is intended by Source itself. When we do this, when we surrender, I know when I experience this miraculous healing, miraculous return to alignment with the soul, that's what I had done. I had literally declared to 2 co-workers at the time, friends, that I surrender this life, that I got nothing else up here. I don't know what else to do. And that's where all the beauty then was revealed. Because then the soul took over and showed the way. And you just followed. I just followed. I allowed, and it was the first time because, I had always deemed myself or considered myself not an educated person, but an intelligent one. And I had nothing. I couldn't figure anything else out. And that was the intention of the journey, was to get to that place where you surrender all of what you think you know. In apraxia, people are suffering because they're trying to grasp and hold on to what they think they know, and that synapsis is gone because they've evolved. And it's the call of the soul that is asking to be allowed to come forward. And I know that there are people that will hear this and like, well, how do we do that? And I think the most important thing is coming into the awareness of reality and how this realm functions, this physical realm functions, and its paradigms of existence, because those are changing. All reality is in a constant state of growth and change and transformation. And in no way can we depend on things like religion or philosophies or politics or the illusional perspective of time, all these things. People love to use this word reality, this reality, that reality. Well, that's my reality. No, that's your illusion. That's the perception that you hold due to the beliefs in your mind or wherever you hold them that are creating the window through which you see a given situation, and you're interpreting it through those very limited perspectives. Because when we come into the perspective, when we leave perspective and we come into the awareness of the soul, there is an expansiveness. So much more of the puzzle is revealed. So many of the pieces. It's so interesting how, I don't know who created that as a symbol, the puzzle, but maybe it's because they see the mind as jumbled or the pieces being put together differently. But it's the soul that's calling to this. It's the soul that's calling to ask, to be allowed, to surrender. And I was asked this question once before. What did I think, or what did I see as the biggest hurdle or challenge that those who walk in this form are having at this moment? And I said, the greatest challenge is letting go of what we think we know, so that that more expansive expression of the soul can come through. Those who are experiencing apraxia, through gaining awareness of the soul itself, what is the soul, the paradigms through which existence is here in this realm, can have immense change in the experience they're having due to clinging to the illusions of the mind. When stepping into that expansive awareness of the soul can teach us how to allow it to guide the way. This is a part of the work that I do with people, one-on-one and in groups. Because I've experienced it myself, I've experienced apraxia in a form where my neurological system was so damaged that no longer, for example, I experienced it started in my left leg. It started in my toes, came up my foot, up to my lower leg, and when it started to reach my knee, I started to fall. I did not see it happening until one day I noticed I had been stumbling, but then one day I fell, and I'm like, what's happening? I can't feel my foot. Or the connection, foot, heel, toe, walk, all of that you learned as an infant, it wasn't there. It was gone, and it was coming up my leg, and it had started on the right side. And I thought to myself at that time, and I know this was my mind saying this, my mind was saying, oh hell, at that time I was 40 years old. I'm 40 years old. I've been an athlete all my life, and now I'm not going to be able to walk? What the hell? and kind of got distraught in that, mind-based thing, and was sent to a neurologist to find out what was going on. And my only thing was to ask him, does this get better? I mean, he had all the scientific stuff to tell me about what was happening, but I was like, okay, well, does this get any better? And he kind of looked around and shuffled a paper or two or something on his desk and said, no, usually it doesn't get any better. That what you're experiencing, I think he called it drop foot. It's just where a part of the leg might move, but the rest of it, there's no signals are being sent to have that, that heel toe thing, that function of walking take place, or even standing take place. It wasn't atrophy because the muscles were still there and they could respond, but there just weren't any signals. So I went home, and this was right after I had had my transitional experiences. I was fully aware of myself as a soul. So I said to the soul, I said, please show me the way. And my soul said, it is your will to walk that will allow you to walk again. That's what the soul expressed to me. So those who are experiencing apraxia, is it that simple? No. Is that the only thing that the awareness needed? No. There are a lot of pieces to that puzzle that I had already gathered, but that was the final piece, that awareness of my will to walk and allowing the soul to then give the signals, send the signals for the function of the form. And within 2 weeks, I was walking again. And within a couple of months, I was at the gym. And within a year, I was playing volleyball again and doing all kinds of other things, cycling, swimming, other things, because I willed it to happen. And this isn't some, I don't know, I'm not going to use crazy words, but this isn't something that most importantly, it isn't something that all of us don't have the capability for, because we are all souls of pure light, and we all rise together. It's about finding the pieces, the awareness of the pieces of the puzzle that are missing. Just like the synapses in the brain that's not there, but for those who are experiencing what is called apraxia, but it's not there for a reason. It's not there so that the person can then ask, and this is another challenging situation, so that the person can then ask, then how do I gain that ability back? How do I let my hands work? How do I speak with clarity? How do I do whatever it is that the apraxia might be affecting? But what's most important is that we begin to come into that awareness of what those pieces of the puzzle are, so that we can then put them together. And that we can then, because each time that we take a step, a physical step or an evolutionary step within ourselves to return to the awareness of ourselves as the soul takes a step in our direction as well. The synthesis, it's the meeting, it's the unifying of elements. If you are participating in a belief or a truth that is based in illusion, and all of them are, because that creates division of any kind. Divinity doesn't know division even by gender. Everything that exists is simply an element that is unified in reality. We are the ones that are making all of these divisions, and in these divisions, weakening our capacity to do and to be and to express ourselves as souls, as the whole. We are no more important than I point out my window because there's grass there. we are no more important than the blade of grass, or the tomato plant that I have growing there, or the bird that's flying by, or the cloud. All of us are, I'm going to read it again. When we begin to see all things as equally important elements in the synthesis of all that is, this is the doorway to awareness of the soul self. I'll leave you with this. If you have any questions, no matter where you'll be seeing this, I'll be posting this on my YouTube page. I'll be posting it on Facebook, in the Synthesis group, and other places. If you're seeing it on Facebook, you can contact me through Facebook. If you're seeing it on YouTube, my website is www.synthesis111.com. My email is alignmentlife11.com. Excuse me. My website is synthesis111.com. My email is alignmentlife11@gmail.com. Contact me. We can do the work together. We can gather ourselves in one-on-one or in groups to find a way, because the journey isn't the same for everyone. It manifests itself in different ways. The arrival home is the arrival of the awareness of ourselves as souls, moving beyond the illusions that are based in the mind. This is a challenging thing to do because the majority of what's out there is based in the mind. Because those who are sharing may not have arrived of the awareness of themselves as souls. But I can tell you that when we arrive there, there are things that await us that we never imagined even possible. Just recently, as I have shared before here, I got notification through blood work that I had healed 3A kidney failure from a medicine that I had taken some 20 years ago now. I let it be the teacher. I let it teach me, and it continues to teach me what's needed to realign with the soul. What I needed, what were the pieces of the puzzle that needed to be put in place so that I could ascend beyond that kidney failure. And now I have normal kidney function. These forms are miraculous beyond our awareness. They are eternal. They are intended to last as long as the soul insists in or decides to reside here, unless we allow for the deterioration of the form, and we do what we call age. Aging occurs simply because we hold vibrations within us that are in contradiction to the fluidity and magnificence of the soul, and that's the only reason we age. When we align ourselves with the soul and allow for the soul to express what is, we do things like come out of kidney failure or heal from cancer, or so many different things. Everything is vibrational. The mind is not capable of allowing for the expression of it. The mind has to be put out of the way. The surrender has to occur. The letting go of what we think we know has to occur. And then we allow the pieces to come into place. And when we allow the pieces to come into place and surrender to that, the miraculous, what we would call miraculous, happens, which is actually, for the soul, normal. Not this chaotic insanity that we're living here. This isn't normal to the soul. That's why the soul keeps calling to us. The soul has never left us. The soul is the reason that the form even has animation, has life. If it weren't for the soul, there would be no life in this form. The mind surely doesn't have capacity to give life to this form. It is the presence of the light of the soul, which is an extension of Source itself. If Source is the tree, we are the limbs and the leaves, the flowers and the fruits of that tree. No disconnect. All a synthesis. All elements of forming together, unifying to form the whole. When we all come together in this awareness, we will rise. Together we will rise with the earth itself. I wrote the post this morning and said, we are here to evolve, not to linger in cyclical process. I didn't word it exactly like that, but you get the gist of it. We are here to evolve. We're not here to stand still either or wait. The only reality we have is now. And what we decide to do with our free will in this now moment affects the progression of the journey. If we're waiting for something outside of us to come and save it all, that's not going to happen either. It's up to us. That's why we're here. That's why we chose to be here. So that we could see this, see reality. Step beyond the illusion that we have been walking in for a very long phase now. Time isn't real. Time is an illusion. There's no such thing as timelines. There are only frequencies and states of being. And wherever we focus, there we are. If we focus in a situation where we include all of these illusional perspectives, we don't experience reality. We experience a perception, which is incredibly limited in comparison to the magnificence of reality itself. Let's rise together. If there is any way that I can be of assistance, I am here. It's why I'm here. It's why I have experienced and gone through all that I have. So that I could be here now. So that I could be here next time. I'm not going to light so many incense here. It smells good here, but I have chosen as a soul to come in and experience all of the things that I have experienced. I only touched on a tiny few pieces of what I've experienced in this journey so far. But I chose it so that I could be here now in this phase of our evolution, in our progression, our spherical progression, and assist others in finding their way home. Insist each one of us in unifying ourselves by first coming into the awareness of ourselves as souls and allowing that to guide the journey, because the soul already resides in synthesis. There's nothing to do once we come into this awareness and surrender our journeys to the soul itself, the soul that gives life to these forms, allow it to guide our every decision, our every action. It already resides in that synthesis. You'll feel it. You'll see it. And very recently I had this just amazing experience asking about the synthesis of all people, of all things, all elements, and this embrace. And I asked the soul, how is that? And the soul said, we are all embraced by all that is. Once we get past the division and what we're seeing in the world today, you feel that embrace. It's like a hug, but like this even greater than that. It's like this awareness of, oh my God, I am a part of the earth. I'm a part of the sky. I'm an element of this all. It changes everything. Absolutely changes everything. And in closing, I'm guided to share the 3 cards that I pulled out just before we started. And it's interesting how this occurs. The one is, this card is a part of a 3 series of forms of light, and it says, let the light of the moon move the waters within you. Talk about surrender. The light that is the moon that is here, the 29 seeing moons that are here to move the waters within us as we continue to drink and receive water so that the higher frequencies can move freely through our form. The soul takes flight. The symbol that as we allow the light of the moon, and by the light I don't mean just the physical light, by the frequencies of the moon, the wisdom of the moon being shown upon us in our world, we then rise and allow the soul to take flight. And when the soul takes flight, the message here is, see the pieces as they come together now. Trust as they come together. When we come into the place of the soul and allow the pieces to come together, that's where the magic resides. So with that, I will say thank you for listening. We're at almost 53 minutes now. If you have listened this far, good on you. If this video has inspired you in any way, connect with me. Let's talk. Let's have an exchange to see how we can all continue to rise together. And if it has inspired you, share it with others, please. Share it. If you're seeing it in the YouTube channel, like it, share it. You know how it works. If this is a message that you feel more of the world needs to see or hear, do that, please. It helps me. It helps me in the work of helping others. And that is my intention for being here. Blessings to you all. Sudut nor vasik ira nanankiemna. Manankia dada suturu madik ira nangana. Samniak asati.